All right, we're back and ready for another deep dive. Today, we're going to be looking at crypto,
Hmm.
specifically, all this news about Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies suddenly surging again. So we're going to try to understand, what's behind it all. Is it just another bubble or is something bigger going on? We'll be using this article called The Crypto Climb: Why Are Bitcoin and Other Cryptocurrencies Rising Again as our guide for this dive.
Yeah, it really is the question right now, isn't it? Like, what's driving this whole thing?
Yeah,
To really get it, I think we need to break down all the different factors, all the forces that are pushing and pulling on the crypto market.
absolutely. Let's do that. The article we're looking at starts by talking about what it calls shifting economic sands. It basically says that inflation is a big reason why people are turning to crypto. Like when our regular money, dollars and euros start losing value, people look for other places to put their money to hold its value.
Right, yeah, exactly. And that's where Bitcoin comes in.
Yeah.
Because there's only a limited amount of it, right? There will only ever be 21 million Bitcoins.
So it's like digital scarcity,
Yeah, exactly. That's what makes it attractive when inflation is high.
like digital gold.
Yeah, some people see it that way.
Yeah.
Like a modern version of gold.
But gold has been around forever, right?
Yeah. Gold has this long history as a store of value. For centuries, people have used it. But Bitcoin is still pretty new. I mean, its track record is pretty short compared to gold.
So I guess the big question is, can it really act as a hedge against inflation over the long term? Like, will it hold its value like gold has?
That's the million-dollar question, yeah.
It's a gamble, right?
In a way, yeah.
Okay, so it's not just about Bitcoin being digital gold, but whether it can actually, stand the test of time.
Yeah, I think that's a really important point.
It needs to prove itself, basically.
It does.
Now, the article also mentions the US dollar, like how it's performing.
Oh, right.
It says that when the dollar weakens, Bitcoin becomes more attractive to international investors.
That makes sense, yeah.
Why is that?
Well, think about it. If you're in Europe, say, and you're holding euros, when the euro gets stronger compared to the dollar, you can buy more with your euros, right?
Right.
So you can suddenly buy more Bitcoin with the same amount of euros.
Ah, so it's like a sale on Bitcoin.
Exactly.
That's interesting. So we have inflation pushing people towards Bitcoin,
Yeah.
and then we have a weaker dollar making it cheaper for some people to buy.
Yeah, it's kind of a double whammy.
The article also talks about how volatile the stock market has been, and that this is another factor pushing people towards crypto.
Oh, yeah, I can see that.
People get nervous when the stock market is all over the place.
Right.
They look for somewhere safe to put their money.
Makes sense.
But isn't crypto volatile too?
Oh, absolutely. It can be even more volatile than the stock market.
So why would people move their money from one volatile market to another?
It's about diversification, I think.
Yeah.
Spreading out their risk.
So, if stocks go down, they're hoping crypto will go up.
Yeah, that's the idea.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a risky strategy.
For sure. Sounds like a bit of a tightrope walk.
It is. But it's not just everyday people driving this.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, the article points out that big institutions are getting involved too.
Like who?
Well, it mentions BlackRock and Fidelity.
Oh, wow. Those are some big names in finance.
They are.
Yeah.
And it's not just about the money they're bringing in.
I mean, that's going to be a lot.
Oh, for sure. But it's also about legitimacy.
Right. Like it makes crypto seem more serious, more mainstream.
Yeah, when these big institutions invest in crypto, it's a sign that maybe, just maybe, this is the future of finance.
It's like if your grandma starts investing in Bitcoin, you know something's up.
Exactly.
So what are they actually doing? Just buying Bitcoin?
Well, some are, yeah.
Yeah.
But they're also creating products that make it easier for regular people to invest.
Oh, you mean like those Bitcoin ETFs?
Yeah, exactly.
I've heard of those, but I don't really understand them.
It's basically like a basket of Bitcoin all bundled together, and then you can buy shares of that basket on the stock market.
So you don't have to actually buy Bitcoin yourself.
Nope. You just buy shares of the ETF. It's much simpler.
So it's like investing in a company that holds Bitcoin instead of dealing with all the technical stuff, wallets and all that.
Yeah, that's a good way to think about it.
It's like a shortcut.
It is. And it opens up crypto to a lot more people.
This is all starting to sound pretty good for the future of crypto. But I keep hearing about these technological issues, like that scalability problem with Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Can you explain that, in simple terms?
Sure. Basically, the Bitcoin network can only handle a certain number of transactions per second.
Okay.
And as more and more people use Bitcoin, it can get overloaded.
Makes sense.
Transactions start to slow down, fees go up. It's like a traffic jam on the Bitcoin highway.
Ah, I see. So how do we fix this traffic jam?
Well, there are people working on solutions. One idea is something called the Lightning Network.
The Lightning Network.
Yeah, it's kind of like building a network of express lanes on top of that Bitcoin highway.
Express lanes. I like that analogy.
So instead of all the traffic clogging up the main road, some transactions can zip through these faster lanes.
So it's like a bypass.
Exactly. And it's not perfect. It's still being developed.
But it has the potential to really speed things up.
Yeah, if it works, it could make Bitcoin much more scalable.
So we can avoid that traffic jam in the future.
Hopefully.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
So the Lightning Network is basically adding those express lanes to our Bitcoin highway. I love that analogy. But it seems like crypto is moving beyond just buying and selling, just transactions. What about all this stuff about DeFi, NFTs, and the metaverse? The article mentions those, but I'd love to get your take on all that.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It's not just about Bitcoin anymore. There's this whole world of applications developing.
Like, it's not just about the money itself, it's about what you can do with it.
Exactly. Decentralized finance, or DeFi for short, is really starting to disrupt the financial world.
DeFi, that sounds intense.
It is. It's basically about creating financial systems that don't rely on the usual middlemen, like banks.
So no more big banks.
Well, not exactly. It's more like creating alternatives. So things like borrowing, lending, earning interest, all that stuff. But it all happens on a blockchain without a bank in the middle.
So it's cutting out the middleman?
Exactly.
That sounds pretty radical.
It is. It had the potential to make finance more accessible, more efficient, and way more transparent.
But I imagine there are risks, too.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's still early days, but it's definitely something to watch closely.
Okay, so DeFi is shaking things up in the financial world. What about NFTs? Those seem to be everywhere these days.
NFTs, yeah. They're basically digital assets, but they're unique.
Unique.
Yeah, each one is different. Like you can have a digital picture, right?
Right.
But an NFT of that picture proves that you own the original.
So it's like a digital deed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like a certificate of authenticity.
So you're saying I could buy like a virtual piece of land in a video game.
Yeah. And it's not just land. NFTs can be used for anything digital.
Like music.
Yeah.
Or like virtual clothes for my avatar.
Exactly. It's crazy. Right.
It's wild. But let's not forget about the real world. Regulation is still a big factor in all of this.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
You can't escape the regulators.
It seems like the crypto world has had a bit of a complicated relationship with regulations.
Yeah, it has been a bit of a Wild West. A lot of uncertainty.
So are clear regulations good or bad for crypto?
I think they're essential in the long run.
Really?
Yeah, if governments can set clear rules about how crypto can be used and traded, it creates more stability, more predictability for businesses and investors.
So it's not about stifling innovation.
Not necessarily. It's about creating a level playing field, and that can actually lead to more investment and wider adoption.
So regulation can be a good thing.
I think so, yeah.
Okay, so we have all these positive factors pushing crypto forward. The economy is shifting, big institutions are getting involved, the technology is improving, and regulations are hopefully becoming clearer. But the article still talks about cautious optimism.
Right.
Why is that?
Because the crypto market is incredibly volatile.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
It's a roller coaster, not a smooth ride.
Prices can go up and down like crazy.
Exactly. And they could be influenced by all sorts of things.
Like what?
Well, news events can have a big impact, even just a tweet from someone famous.
Wow, so it's really unpredictable.
It can be, yeah.
So the article's basically saying don't get too carried away.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. Do your research, understand the risks, and don't invest more than you can afford to lose.
That's good advice for any investment, really.
It is.
But especially with crypto, it seems.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, I gotta ask about something else. Bitcoin isn't the only game in town, right?
Oh, definitely not.
There are all those other coins. What are they called? Altcoins.
Yeah, short for alternative coins.
Like Ethereum.
Exactly. Ethereum is the biggest one after Bitcoin.
And it's different from Bitcoin.
Oh, yeah, they have different goals.
What do you mean?
Well, Bitcoin is mainly seen as a store of value, like we talked about, digital gold. But Ethereum is more like a platform.
A platform for what?
For building decentralized applications.
Decentralized applications?
Yeah, like apps that run on a blockchain. And smart contracts.
Smart contracts. That sounds futuristic.
It is pretty cool. Basically, it's a contract that automatically executes itself when certain conditions are met.
So no lawyers needed.
Well, maybe not for simple contracts.
So I could use a smart contract to, like, buy a house.
Potentially, yeah.
That's wild.
It can streamline all sorts of processes.
So Ethereum is more about, like, changing how things work, not just about the money itself.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to see it.
And all this excitement around crypto, it's not just helping Bitcoin, right?
Nope. A lot of altcoins are seeing big gains too.
It's like a rising tide lifts all boats.
Exactly. The whole crypto ecosystem is benefiting.
But what does it all mean for the future? That's the big question.
It is, isn't it? I mean, we've got all these trends converging. Economic uncertainty, more institutional adoption, technological advancements, and hopefully clearer regulations.
It's like a perfect storm for crypto.
It kind of is, yeah.
But what does it mean for regular people? What should our listeners be thinking about right now?
That's the question, isn't it? I think the most important thing is to stay informed. Be aware of the risks and the opportunities.
So don't just jump in blindly.
Exactly. Do your own research. Understand the technology, the potential use cases, and remember, never invest more than you can afford to lose.
It's like any investment, there's potential for reward, but also potential for risk.
Exactly.
And with crypto, those potentials seem even bigger.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say.
It feels like we're just scratching the surface of what crypto could become.
We are. This is still early days. The technology is evolving so rapidly, it's hard to predict where it will go next.
That's what makes it so exciting, I guess.
It is exciting.
Yeah.
Think about how it could change our lives, how we manage our money, interact with the digital world.
Even how we govern ourselves, maybe.
Potentially, yeah.
That's a lot to take in.
It is.
So, for our listeners out there, what's the one question they should be asking themselves as they try to figure out this whole crypto thing?
That's a good question. I think I would ask.
Mm.
What role do you see crypto playing in your future?
That's a deep question.
It is.
Ah.
Is it just an investment? Or could it fundamentally change how you live your life?
Wow, that's something to think about. Yeah, that's a big question. It feels like we're on the verge of something huge, but we can't quite see it yet.
That's what makes it so fascinating, right? We're not just watching this crypto climb happen, we're part of it.
It's like history in the making.
Exactly. And it's not just about the money, it's about how it could change everything.
You're talking about systemic change?
Yeah, exactly. Crypto is challenging the way things have always been done. It's making us question who holds the power, you know?
The power of governments, banks, even money itself.
Right. It's forcing us to rethink all of that.
It's a lot to process.
It is. It really is. That's why it's so important to keep an open mind. Be willing to learn, but also be skeptical.
Don't believe everything you hear.
Exactly. There's a lot of hype, a lot of noise.
So how do we stay grounded? How do we keep learning without getting lost in all the hype?
I'd say focus on the fundamentals. Learn about blockchain technology, how it works. Look at different crypto projects. Try to understand what problems they're trying to solve.
Don't just chase the latest trends.
Right. Think about the long-term potential. Don't get distracted by the day-to-day price swings.
It's a marathon, not a sprint.
Exactly.
Well said. So as we wrap up this deep dive into the crypto climb, what's the one thing you want our listeners to take away from all of this?
That's a good question. I'd say don't be afraid to ask questions. Challenge assumptions. Form your own opinions.
Don't just follow the crowd.
Right. The crypto world is full of passionate people. But ultimately, you have to decide for yourself what you believe.
It's like we're all pioneers exploring this new frontier.
I love that analogy. We're all figuring this out together.
And the future is still unwritten.
Exactly.
It's an exciting time to be alive.
It really is.
Well, on that note, I think we'll wrap up our deep dive into the world of crypto. To our listeners, thank you for joining us on this journey. Keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep your eyes on the horizon. Who knows what amazing things the future holds?